We are going to kick off with this amazing panel you already can see. In fact, I'm going to run away and let Kat take over and shut up and let you carry on. So Kat, over to you.
Thank you, Oscar. And 20-something years dealing with ads?
Well, 24 years in games.
Do you want to sit down?
But I was doing, well, they got me on a panel later.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was doing quite a long, 2014 was for ads. So.
All right, okay.
Well, technically, if you want to go back to the banner ads, no.
Banner, what's a banner? Hi, thanks everyone for coming. This is a plump room, thank you. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Kat Peterson. I'm a co-founder of a small talent agency firm in Toronto that I co-founded with a business partner almost 10 years ago. We work with a very small group of talent, but mainly PewDiePie, who we've been working with for the last 6 or so years. He keeps us very busy. I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to let people introduce themselves, but the reason you're here is to talk about ads, as Oscar alluded to. Specifically why creating seamless ads in-game is essential to user retention. This panel is going to convince us why. No big deal.
No big deal. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Nav Gupta from Chaarmi Worlds, Inc. We are a metaverse company. We are creating the WordPress of metaverse creation. Using our tech, throw it on any website, click a button, and a full metaverse galaxy appears with four-wall garden all the way up to a fully decentralized blockchain experience and everything in between. We're right now selling them for about $1,000 a month. We're looking for business owners and hoping to grow. And that's a bit about me, and I'll pass it on.
Well, thank you, Nav. You're my favorite new friend amongst the other people on stage. My name is... you gotta act like you care, man. My name is Matt Sharpe. I'm the creative director in advertising at Zynga. It's my responsibility to make sure our ads don't totally suck. Spoiler alert, I know a lot of you in this room probably love ads, love getting them, love receiving them, interacting with them, maybe. It is my job to make sure you don't hate it and that you actually get a little bit of value out of it from a creative standpoint. Over to you, new friend.
Not your favorite though, right?
Right now you're at number 3.
Okay, that's fair. So I'm Flavio. I'm the monetization and marketing director at Gameloft Toronto. I've been with the company for just over 8 years now. I've been doing free-to-play PC and mobile for just over 13 years. And my responsibility at the company now is to make sure we're getting the installs our games need and that we're monetizing through in-app purchases and ads in a way that's healthy and sustainable so we can keep our games running for a long time. Disney Magic Kingdoms being our most successful title coming out of Gameloft Toronto and has been live for over 6 years now, so hopefully we keep that going for many, many more.
Awesome. And my name is Saloni. I'm here from AppLovin. So my role is I'm manager of ad monetization at AppLovin. So I lead our ad monetization strategy and operations for our partner studios, primarily in the casual gaming vertical. And a lot of that really has to do with looking at retention. So I'm super excited to talk a little bit more about that today.
Great. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you. I'll preface this with I have been working in advertising, namely selling advertising, for at least 15 years. So I'll start with that. But I don't really like ads as a user. So why are they so essential to retention?
All right. Great question. Great question.
Well, hold on. Kat, say what you actually said in the email. You said it very politely there. You don't like ads. What did you say in the email?
I personally hate ads.
Hate. Okay, hate. Okay. Just so we're all being honest. You understand we're all being candid with one another in this room.
So I'll just say it. I come from the game development background, and so I worked at Unity Live Help as well. And me and Oscar found out, oh man, we worked at Unity. It was great. So ads are an important part because they help developers, develop and make some money. What we're trying to do with ads is use it in new ways inside of the metaverse, for example, using where you're looking and then kind of using things like banners, but in a different way, like what you would see in the physical world. Why is it essential to user retention? Well, I mean, it gives us an opportunity to grow our brands and to allow people to expand out. At the same time, only when in my opinion, only when it's done correctly. If you do it the wrong way, games suck. All right, they just will suck. And it becomes more of a money play because you can definitely tell when a developer is trying to literally just like bombard you with 10,000 ads because they want to make, some money versus this is actually a part of the experience. And, you're looking at pull versus push ads. Back in the olden days, we used to do push ads. I would be with Oscar and we'd be at different events just talking about all the push ads. And now we're looking at pull ads, like a person actually wants to see an ad and you're doing like rewarded videos and so on. In the metaverse space, I'm hoping to see that more of a natural type of experience. When you guys go see a billboard today, it was because you wanted to look that direction. And the nice thing that we're trying to do at Chaarmi Worlds Inc. is also pay the user for that. So if you turn your head in a certain direction and you're coming in with, let's say, MetaMask and crypto, well, now you'd also get paid a portion of those ad revenues just for looking. And so it's going to be interesting how that all works, but that's my opinion on it.
So I like what you said about let's just presume ads are baked in. Let's not have a big discussion. Should there be ads? Look, you need ads for revenue. Studios do. Okay, big, small, whatever. Ultimately, ads come into the equation. As you said, the problem is so many of them are terrible.
Yeah.
And I draw the analogy of speed dating a lot. And imagine if you sat down at a table and someone just sits down for you and it's just like, my name's Jimmy. If you like running and hiking and books, you'll love Jimmy. Do you want kids? And it's just like everything's yanked up. The volume's turned up on everything. They're like, we need to be loud. We need to be aggressive.
Yeah.
We need to be impactful, this and this. No, you need to have a conversation that resonates. And, I'm not saying you sit down and you say, hi, my name's Mark. You seem really nice. It's good to me. I'm not going to say you're going to fall in love, okay? Let's be real. But the odds go way up. So I think to start with, I agree actually with Kat. I agree with you 100%. Most ads are terrible. But it's on us as creators, on us as people deploying it to make sure that they're better and that they're not Jimmy.
I don't know if I can add much more to like the base of what you said before as well, which is obviously we need revenue to be able to keep that content and new features coming, and that's obviously impacting retention. We need to keep churning out that content to bring players back. But you answered the question more directly as well. Rewarded videos obviously is something that really adds value to the game experience as well. And we see that very concretely when, and we've tried to reduce as much as possible over time, but sometimes there are technical issues and our ads just aren't working. And you see on social media and on our customer care channels, people are complaining, where are my ads? I want to see those ads. So we do know that there's demand for that.
Yeah, and then just to kind of combine some of the things that you all said, I think a really good way to look at ads and retention is kind of to look at what defines a retained user, right? They're probably pretty engaged in the game. They've probably progressed through a lot of levels. So from there, you can kind of back that out into an ad strategy, right? Like, how can we get users to progress through more levels? And one example is something like rewarded video, right? Maybe we introduce boosters in exchange for people watching an ad. That might help them progress through more levels. That might help them feel more engaged and retained in the game. So I think, kind of like all you all said, a well-executed ad strategy can actually be pretty invaluable to something like retention.
And on that note, what do you think a reasonable set of KPIs are? How do we measure? Like, if you're in the space, you're working in the space, you've spent your dollars, you want to see something. What is reasonable today?
Yeah, I think the KPIs can vary a lot based on kind of the type of game, but there's kind of like two main strategies that I recommend using. So the first one is really always optimizing for like your user experience. So with things like banner ads, really make sure that they don't overlap with any in-game elements. With interstitial ads, you want to make sure they're not too intrusive, as you guys said. With rewarded ads, you want users to actually be able to find them. Sometimes like a big problem is users don't know where the rewarded ad is in your game. And then the second thing is just really ensuring that your ad strategy complements your in-app purchase strategy. So for example, you might want to tune your rewards so that way they're not like too generous, that they disincentivize purchases. Things like that. So the specific KPIs will vary, but I think those two kind of frameworks are really important when you're thinking about an ad strategy.
From our standpoint, working with brands, they define the KPIs. They step forward and they say, okay, This is a CPG. We're looking for awareness, product, affinity. We're looking for things like that. This is entertainment. We're looking for awareness. This is, some people are looking for engagement. They want to see sky-high engagement numbers. And so I think having that conversation at the onset, and this may sound basic to some people in the room, but honestly, like a lot of things, when you actually remember to do these things, you're like, do I actually do that every time? You start and you say, what is the point? What's going to make this a win for us? Like, high level, are we going to get people engaged? Are they going to be talking about us? To what degree should they be talking about us? How's that going to look? And establishing those KPIs, as many as you mentioned, is just, it's essential. It's mandatory.
What are the KPIs that you've found so far that really can't work together? A brand comes to you and they say, we want this, that, and the other, and you say, great, you can have 2 of 3.
That's a great question, because I'm dealing with that right now with some things.
No, everyone is. Don't worry.
It's honestly when people want niche targeting and they want high engagement. They're like, we want to come right out of the gate. We want to target people this age, this and this gender, all kinds of things. Yeah. But then we want the unit itself to have a sky-high engagement rate, north of 60, 70%. It's like, well, okay, you can't isolate 90% of the population off to the side and then expect them to still engage with it. So that's definitely kind of a key fork in the road that we approach. I don't know if you find it any different.
I mean, for us, it's more about as the people developing the game and trying to monetize it, both through IPs and ads. You mentioned kind of tuning the rewards is super important as well. We can't just say, okay, we're going to show, infinity ads and they're all going to be super high value. We can't do that either, right? So we have to kind of balance the amount of engaged users that are watching X amount of videos per day, and we've had to do that. We've had to go back and dilute some of the rewards so that we can increase the overall amount of value that we're giving to the players. So it's a constant game of balancing things.
Okay, Nav, I'm going to get to you in a second. I'm not ignoring you, I promise.
Take this mic, man. Just take it.
I got my coffee.
But so on that, what are the sectors that you guys find most difficult to accommodate with ads? Like, where are the areas that are where is it difficult? Where is it hard to get that ad in? What is hard? You don't have to talk about who. I'm just saying, there are sectors that are more difficult. I mean, I can tell you, integrating a mattress company into a gaming video, not the easiest thing. But what sectors are difficult? And then on the flip side, which ones marry in really well and you see results that are awesome that maybe people wouldn't expect?
He wants to talk. He wants.
Other people got to talk. I can't be stomping all over them.
No, Nav is
gonna be
next.
talking about the
I have
metaverse.
lots. I have lots.
Okay, honestly, cute, cuddly IP licensing works really, really well. We do a campaign with trolls. People love it. Trolls are cute. They're cuddly. It's awesome. To your point, mattress, it's harder. People see a mattress, and look, if you're Casper or if you're someone else you want to work with us, there's a conversation to be had. We'll make it work. But it's different, and it is more challenging. And I think part of it is, look at what people engage with day to day. Look at what people, if you didn't put it in front of them, would still reach out for. People want to go see Minions. And shout out to Gameloft, even though I'm at Zynga, you guys, Minion Rush is pretty cool. That's all you're going to get out of me. But honestly, it really is. Cute, cuddly, affectionate. I mean, personalities sell really well. Flow from Progressive sells a lot better than a product box. They do. People like smiling faces. They like seeing people because it's genuine. It's a connection. It's personable. Whereas if you have an inanimate object, stick these on screen and say bye. Maybe you like the design, but it's trickier.
Cats work really well also, speaking of cute and cuddly. Literally just cats.
Right. Okay, fine. So we'll get animals. Okay, good. You have a microphone.
I have a mic. Yeah, I can speak
okay,
now. That's cool.
Directionally, where are we going? No.
I wasn't sure.
No.
Just having
This one's
fun.
for you.
Yeah, I know. So basically, it's a new frontier in the metaverse. I mean, you've got so many different areas coming in now, and it's unique. It's exciting. You've got AR, you've got VR, you've got XR, you've got Web3 and blockchain, and all these different areas that are now going to come in, and you're going to want to look at how do you advertise in all of these. For example, in the blockchain world, nobody wants to share anything. You don't know whether they're male, female, what's going on, other than the fact, of course, you're going to know the data because in a blockchain, everything is public. But, besides that, the whole point is trying to gain privacy as much as possible, but it is a public chain. So, you've got the proponents who are just like, I don't want to share any information. And if I'm going to, I should now have the rights to that information. This is kind of what we're toying with here is like, do the users now get money for this as well through the ad companies? And then from a 3D perspective, now visually where you physically look, we can actually detect that, your head motion or the camera motion and like how long it sits on an ad and so on. But that's in VR and 3D. But what about when we get to augmented reality now? And some of you are wearing glasses here. I imagine that they were going to all have glasses that are light. And in fact, we wouldn't be physically here. We would be here virtually as holograms, right? When we get to those levels, using artificial intelligence, being able to track how a person physically moves in these environments, now can we use advertising in a different way? It's scary that they'll be able to kind of, know what's going on, but we will have now new KPIs and new types of information that's coming out. What is important, though, is to make sure that, in my opinion, that we start putting ads that make sense for each individual. Now getting really down to custom ads. Like, for example, what types of categories or topics that I might like, Saloni might not like, and vice versa. But if we both look at the same direction at the same poster board or whatnot, we should both see a different ad. And that's the whole entire idea that I'm thinking about is as we get into these futuristic technologies, we start doing things like that, where now the advertisers and the publishers, they get more high quality retention and doing traditional models. So what you guys see right now, you drive by and you see the billboards versus boom, push in your face and everyone hears an ad. But yeah, that's where, in my opinion, it's going. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming years in the metaverse.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Saloni, are you going to make it so that that's not clunky? Like, can you seamlessly do this for us today?
I think a really big part of like some of what you're talking about is just having really strong machine learning that helps you target those sorts of ads, right? And that's the kind of tech that, of course, AppLovin has. A lot of, different publishers and DSPs, et cetera, have that sort of tech. And I think that is very vital to the kind of like future you're describing. But in terms of just like where ads are headed kind of like in games as they exist right now, I think a lot of publishers are getting a lot more comfortable with hybrid monetization, so like in-app purchases and ads. And I think we're going to just see that continue. We're going to see a lot of apps kind of get pushed to market that have ads from the get-go, where in the past they might have integrated them later. So I think that's kind of where we're headed, kind of within the mobile gaming industry. I don't know if you have something to add too.
I could say a little bit more about, I think, something that could be done a lot more even right now without the metaverse, but obviously taken to a whole new level with the metaverse is with brand integrations. I just don't see it enough. We see some sports titles, have billboards. We've dipped our toes a little bit into that too. We have an Asphalt, which is a brand out of one of our sister studios, and more recently they've done an integration where you can race Lego Technicar in those races. So I think it's, part tracking obviously is an impediment to doing that right now, but I think it's up to us as content creators to really push that more and show the value that has for our brand, to really get those players engaged with the content and not just, even though I love rewarded videos, it's something that, they can just press play and put their phone down and they're not even watching it anymore. They're just waiting for it to end. So yeah, really creating like more interaction between the user and the brand.
I think from a creative standpoint too, creative director, this is what I speak, you have to be better. You can't do what you did 2 years ago. You're going to lose. Like, you'll lose. People, expectations for what you deliver them from an ad standpoint are so much higher, and there's two stakeholders involved. In any campaign typically that we run, we have the brand or whomever is publishing the ad, and we have our users. Both stakeholders need to be happy at the end of it. And to go back to that speed dating analogy earlier, before you could show up and look kind of like me, and you're not super well put together or whatever, you need to have your shit together. You can't come out of the gate with a bad ad placement. You can't come out of the gate with bad creative or tone-deaf creative. You can't do that anymore.
Is there any tolerance for that?
You hate ads, right? I would say no. I would say no. I would say, I mean, look.
No, but I sit through them. That's the thing. So there is a tolerance for
No
bad
question.
ads, right? So I guess that's what I'm asking is there a tolerance? Is there a place where less than can exist?
I think it's going like this. I think it's shrinking. I think it's shrinking. I think what you would have sat through 2 years ago, 24 months ago, is a lot different than what you sit through now. And as a byproduct. And the thing is, I saw, it's often said as an app developer that people are always 2 seconds away from going to the App Store and getting another game or force closing you. You can't do that. You can't afford to mess around. The creative has to be on point and outstanding. And yes, maybe there is some built-in tolerance. Frankly, I think it's also generationally. I think it varies depending on the demo you're talking to. It has spikes and valleys. But you have to have your shit together. You can't mess around anymore. Just turn the volume up and expect results.
Poor Jimmy.
You know what? 5% into people who were... Jimmy was the guy at speed dating who was like, hi, how are you? I'm Jimmy. Ah. Like, 5% of that audience is always going to be there. It's like in politics. You can say and do whatever you want. You're going to have 10, 20% of your base. They'll just be there. But nobody wants to win with 10, 20%. In ads, we need way higher. And our expectations need to be way higher. Otherwise, people won't work with us.
So on that note, who is doing something interesting really well? I mean, other than Matt, obviously, and Jimmy. But like, remove yourself from your current role, and who is doing something that's like, you turn on your computer, you turn on your phone. What have you seen lately that's piqued your interest?
TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Everything that's
I
happening.
hate TikTok
I know.
too.
I know. But the point is,
I'm the worst.
It's a new way of doing things that we aren't expecting and we're not used to. You know what I mean? And like, for example, and many of us, I mean, especially as we have now grown and the younger generation has come in to brand new technologies, coming back to that whole entire thing, like you're saying, is you need to now change as the market shifts. We went to watch Minions just last week, and we thought that, everyone was actually really having fun and just being rowdy for no reason. It's actually a TikTok trend that, young teens in suits go in, and they're going to clap loud and be kind of rowdy inside of the movie, and they record it all on TikTok. And it's like, this is the sort of stuff that's happening is when you're going into these new environments, and you don't know the other players or the other things that are going on, I'd say that's interesting because that's where now the brands want to also go to and start seeing some of these things which are outside of just, I guess, traditional model ads that you're used to, and now shift as the market is shifting. And if you don't see what's going on, try and, find out from others. Just talk. And I mean, that's why you come to events like this, is to kind of learn about what's going on, what's the new stuff, so that you're not like 2 years behind. Yeah.
Right? Please, jump in.
Yeah, just piggybacking off that, like, with things like TikTok, and this has been a thing for like a minute, but just content creators and the pull that they have in terms of advertising. So I don't have that much experience with it because I'm on the monetization side, but you two might have something to add around that.
Never mind.
Selfishly, one thing Zynga does really well are playable ads. And not the kind where they're pre-recorded video where you press a button and then it just plays back automatically on you, but actually fully engaging ads. We see crazy engagement rates. We have a lot of success with that. In terms of not being selfish and promoting Zynga's ad division, which I feel weird saying, I actually think, Nav, to your point, the stuff I've been seeing with in-game ads, it used to be when I used to play Madden and games like that, there you go, EA, take it. But when I used to play that as a kid, they were really bad. They were kind of like slapped on. Now, holy shit. It's just like, it's immersive, it's embedded, it's intertwined, it's everything. You talk about seamless, it's what you have to do, and they're getting better with it. To your point about seeing something depending on your preference, they're getting real good.
But who? Like, what have you seen? Like, I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but what have you seen in the last week, 2 weeks? You talked about Minions. That's a great example. What have you seen? Like, what has popped up that you're like, okay, I'm not going to forget that. That was done well. I should write that down. We should call that person. We should steal that creative person. Like, what have you seen?
Fortnite kills. Fortnite and their brand partnerships. I think that's more licensing than ads, though. They're good. They make it really native.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe if you wanted something more recent, but I was going to say the same thing. Like there's stuff they've done with Nike and Marvel, and obviously with in-game concerts and all that kind of stuff. They're definitely next level, and that's what we want to see as well. And since you were being a little bit selfish earlier as well, we do have our own division, Gameloft for Brands, which I kind of wanted to plug too.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, we do exactly like what I was mentioning before is making these really engaging ad units where you're actually playing a mini game, and they've done some really cool stuff for Lego, for Kellogg's, for CIBC, for Canadian, and then for Fanta, they've won some awards for some really cool stuff that they did where you're actually screaming into your phone to make the character jump up and down. So that's the way you're controlling it. Obviously, that went pretty viral. So that's the kind of stuff you got to think outside the box and really like create that engagement between the user, just like you would in a regular game. So there's lots you can learn from each other.
I'd also like to say, I guess, also on the flip side, as much as you're trying to be creative, also be careful when you're trying to, kind of go out there a little too much. And I mean, this came up again in my feed about, I think it was the Pepsi bottle cap idea, that they had a bottle cap. It nearly cost them $32 billion in the Philippines. Who here's heard that story? Nobody? No. So they basically had a print error. They were doing a big promotion, and what ended up happening was they said that whoever gets this set of 3 numbers, and it became this big thing, that you would win a massive amount. Only 2 bottle caps were supposed to be printed, and I think 800,000 of them got printed. And you heard screams at every single area, to the point where the people started getting death threats and all that. I think it took 13 years or something for them to kind of like fizzle out. So as much as you're getting really, really creative, think about what's going to happen as well. Like that's just the other side. Think about what you're trying to accomplish with your ads, and make sure you do it right.
So 3 cheers for Pepsi's legal team. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to open it up to questions because I think there are lots of people with exciting ideas, but I get to ask the first one. Sorry. Nav, you keep talking about how we're going to get paid. How much am I going to get paid? Seriously, what does that mean? I hear it all the time. I hear people
Pay her
talk
right now.
about
Put your money where your mouth is. Pay her.
But what does that really mean? Like like when you think about that and you think about the average user, the average player, we'll call it. What does that mean? How much am I going to get paid?
So, I mean, right now, when you think about the types of marketing that there are, like Facebook ads and or Meta ads, right now, I'll give you an example. I mean, I spent $20,000 US in 1 month, and that's from the advertiser side, right? And at the end of the day, the user's not getting anything. And this is what we want to kind of do in the future. What we're trying to bring is, it's your data, your life, your movements. You should be getting paid for that. And that's the whole idea. Even if it's like a couple pennies here and there. I mean, usually when you're doing eCPMs and stuff like that, you've got like maybe it's $1 to $3 that comes into the actual app owner. Well, why not pay back, another 25 cents or 50 cents to the actual end user, because it's their data. And the trouble is, I think, society is now starting to shift and saying, hey, you know what? Wait a second. You big brands are making all this money, or you publishers are making all this money off of me, but I'm the product. Pay me something, right? And that's the idea. Yeah, exactly. So, basically that's kind of what, the conversation has to start becoming. If you're serious about, these next future steps, is engaging as well the end users, and thus getting them to be excited about this as well. And that's where I think it could be going, where you're either subsidizing stuff, and that's where the rewarded video stuff comes in. You're giving like free stuff. But in the crypto space, like if you've got a MetaMask wallet and now they see an ad, just boom, here's some crypto, that sort of idea. Just over time, hey, I'd love some extra Bitcoin. Why not? That's just my take on it anyways. Personal opinion on it.
I was hoping for a lot. You just said I was getting a sprinkle. Questions? You want to stand up?
Yeah. So I work at a media agency.
Oh, sorry.
We need the mic for the recording. Hello. I work at a media agency, so I'm on kind of the other side of things. And I'm glad you guys brought up that rewarded video. You know, there's a new kind of thing going on where consumers are used to it now. It's expected. And so when that reward comes up, they're just putting down their phone in their lap for 15 seconds and not paying attention. So the next iteration of that has been the gamification of ads. I expect some wear out to start happening there too, where it's not novel anymore. It's kind of an expectation. What do you think the next iteration is to keep people hooked so that that reward and that gamification and all of that is, still relevant to the consumer?
That's the challenge that I have every single, like as a creative director, what I said earlier, we have to be better. We have to be constantly assessing, and this comes from consumer insights. This comes from analytical data surrounding the ad. Where did people engage? What did they like? What didn't they like? How do we make this better? You have to keep working on the creative end. And people don't like that answer because it's not a 0 and 1 response. It's not like, oh, just do this. But like, honestly, iterate, push it out, see what works, double down on it. That it's really getting your hands dirty with that stuff. This is the stuff that stresses me out. This is the stuff, we had a campaign come in that the client was thrilled with, but I know our standards, and I felt like I was punched in the stomach. I was like, we're not good enough. That would have worked 6 months ago, not good enough. And that's really what you got to do with gamification, with rewarded. Even with rewarded, if you have someone who's exploring a rewarded video and they're worried about the phone treatment, get them on the HUD. Talk to them about putting them on the HUD, the logo. Make sure everyone knows who's responsible for that rewarded element if it's brand sponsored. I don't know if that helps.
From my end, I would say, use additional technologies to engage with the user, right? So basically, before you start showcasing ads to them, this is my personal opinion. So I'm coming from the other side. I was a developer for many years. Give the user an opportunity to describe who they are and reward them for that. And then once you've got a base, because right now, of course, with all this stuff, I'm not even going to say the stuff that we're not supposed to say. But the point is, we have to be very careful on what data we're taking. But if you can kind of gather some information about what that user likes, then you can show ads that make sense. Put it this way, if it is a valuable ad or a valuable video, they are going to watch it, in my opinion. They are going to be engaged with it. Like if I needed to get a certain widget or whatever it is, and an ad came up for it, and because it knew what I was looking for, I would be inclined to watch that because I need it at that time. But the thing is now, because of all the restrictions that we've been having over the years, we have to kind of get creative on how we get that data. With the metaverse stuff, we're going to have machine learning and other things implemented. But once again, it's like just taking the time to get to know your users in a custom way, take them through a flow, have that story, kind of like that whole Madden example where now it's like, it started off with, here, slap in your face, see this ad. Now you have to be much more smoother about it. Take your time and just get that flow before. And it is that dance, right? Really get to know your users and they'll appreciate it, in my opinion.
I'm just really quick on that too. Something to be careful with is, and it might seem small, but make sure you're managing your inventory and taking a look at what the players are seeing, because if they're seeing the same ad 5 times in a row, obviously they're much more likely to just put it down and not care anymore, right? But if it's something different every time they look, then it's more likely that it's going to catch their attention.
And then another thing which we kind of talked about at the beginning is just being really clear about your KPIs. Like if you're running a campaign and you're not getting what you want, you can cut out that channel, right? The data will kind of speak for itself at that point, and you can really zero in on the ones that are showing those relevant ads so that you can get the best results.
And I was going to just chuck in a little extra in there. If you think that the people aren't doing the turning the phone over with the interstitials, you're wrong, they're doing it more. And you've got 3 seconds to get their attention, which is back to your point about creativity. And if you don't get that 3-second attention, you're dead anyway. And another little aside up before I pass to Jackie who wants to ask a question. I delete all the games that have playable because I hate them, because they take me out of the context. I'm an outlier, so I know I'm not typical, but if you're going to take me out of context, I'm going to hate it. And that's not necessarily mean you don't do playable. It just means you've got to be sensible about who's playing the game and be targeting. Sorry, I'm going to chuck to Jackie who had a question.
Thanks, Oscar, and I agree with that. Being an outlier too. And talking about sort of being a bit of disruptor here, I mean, the subject was seamless. And for years, I've been promoting Seamless. I launched rewarded audio as an ad format. And so it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on those kind of seamless formats. But I'm now thinking about being not seamless. And shouldn't we be thinking with our creatives about being a little bit more interrupting, which Oscar will really hate, but I'm just trying to think about bringing the bar up again and changing constantly. And I think particularly in mobile game advertising, we've seen the bar changing constantly. So how do you feel about being a little bit more disruptive?
I just want to touch on the first thing about playables as well, because you both mentioned it. So clearly you're not heavy outliers. One of the benefits of being an in-game studio is that we can make our ads seamless. So people like, you're welcome. But to that point as well, risk reward. You're sitting at a poker table. You put your chips in. You want to get real creative? Cool. You want to get controversial? Cool. You want to go on Twitter and type. I know. I was thinking about all the subjects. You can do it. Understand, though, the risk that you're taking on. And we say this with our clients all the time when they have an ambitious idea. We say, cool, here's how that can go right, which you've obviously thought of. Here's, from our experience, how it can go wrong. Brace yourself for the valley if you want to enjoy the peak.
Yeah, I'd say it really depends on who your target is too, right? So like, what kind of game is it, or what kind of environment is it that you are going to be like in your face? So if it matches the theme, like everything is in your face already, then maybe that might be a good model. But I would say the best answer is not any of us; it's the data. Let the data speak to you, and if you get a return on your investment, then something must be working if your data is actually saying, yeah, I'm making some money. But that's from like the game developer's standpoint.
I didn't really have anything new to add. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I feel like you could speak to disruption though.
You got 3 minutes and 1 second. Go, just do it.
No, I mean you don't have to. But I as someone who is really charged with the seamlessness, how do you feel about the idea of disruptive, of really like turning it over, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very basic, but I mean, if it works, it works, and then I'd be super stoked about it. So I kind of just want to echo what Nav has to say there, which is let the data speak for itself. If you implement something and it does really well, that's awesome. Run with it. If it doesn't, try something new. And I think that's kind of where all of these ideas are sort of born.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Bring in the mic.
There we go.
Hi, I'm from GameHive, and I also do ad monetization. So I had a bit of a question for Flavio. You mentioned, you briefly touched about like personalized experiences and offering or tailoring rewards to specific players, or like diluting rewards to specific players. So can you talk about that a bit more? And also, how have the recent changes in privacy kind of like changed the way you offer personalized experiences to players?
I think to your second question, we all talked about none of us are allowed to talk about changes in privacy.
My next panel's about privacy.
Yeah, so you can watch the next one, and you can ask that question then. But to your first question, when I mentioned diluting it, it wasn't tailored to any specific player or anything like that. It was just us looking at whether we were maximizing the potential of the ads revenue that we were getting in, and we have good comparisons because we have other titles in our roster with all of our other sister studios that we can look at. We saw what they were doing, and they were just getting much more users watching ads, and many users watching more ads per user as well. So we were trying to see what we could do, but ultimately we can't harm our economy, right? So we had to make sure that if we were giving 10 coins for watching X amount of rewards, and now all of a sudden watching X amount of ads, and all of a sudden we're doubling that, we can't give the same amount of coins anymore, But we also don't want to get players upset. So overall, the total amount that we're giving out is going to be more, but they have to watch more ads for each individual reward. That's basically what it was amounting to.
Thanks, Flavio. We have 37 seconds left, so if someone has a question, you can zip it out quickly. We can answer. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble for running over. We good?
Anyone? Any more for any more? Just for clarity, I'm not against disruption, by the way. I like disruption. Disruption's good, but you got 3 seconds to get my attention. That's my point. On that note, I'm going to say thank you very much to the panel. It's been fantastic. I'm sure the later panel, when we talk about post-IDFA changes, a lot of those privacy questions will come up, and all those various